Welcome back to Critical Mass, the radio show. As promised, our second entrepreneur/founder is joining the program. Stephen Miller, welcome to Critical Mass, the radio show.
Hi, Rick. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Let's begin by asking you to talk a little bit about your professional background. Sort of what were you doing before TicketBust.com?
Well, it's sort of what wasn't I doing before TicketBust.com. I started out actually as a CPA, Certified Public Accountant, and I worked for Deloitte Haskins and Sells for a few years before starting my own accounting practice, which actually led me to starting a totally different business in the digital imaging world. I was one of the first Kodak photo CD providers back in the 80s when images were just starting to become digital. And that sort of led me into the Internet business during the dot-com boom of the 90s. And that brought me right to where I am today with TicketBust.com.
What is the inspiration for this business model?
Well, in California, everybody gets tickets, obviously. There's over 18 million tickets issued in California every year. And about 9 years ago, my brother got a traffic ticket, and he didn't know what to do about it, but he happened to turn over the back of the ticket. And on the back of the ticket, there's, in small print, a little-known way on how to contest a traffic ticket in California. It's called a trial by written declaration. And we talked about it, and he went ahead and tried contesting the ticket on his own using a California trial by written declaration, actually got the ticket dismissed, and we talked a little more about it and thought that there could be a market here because nobody that we heard of has ever heard about a trial by declaration. So we actually put together a business model, and having an internet and business and accounting background, I knew just how to put this together to facilitate the ability to for people to complete and file a trial by declaration to help them contest their traffic tickets.
Okay, so can we spend a little bit more time on that, what you just said? Because I have your answer led me to a couple other questions that I want to ask.
Absolutely.
Okay, so from a business model perspective, not a business delivery service, how important is being online, being an internet-based company to the success of delivering, kind of building this business and growing it?
Yeah, it's actually very critical to be online for this because these days anybody looking to get information about anything, in this example, for instance, contesting a traffic ticket, fighting a traffic ticket, they go online. And there's a ton of information online, some good information, some bad information. So as they're searching online, and this is how we put our whole business model together, we found it very imperative to have an internet presence to market our business through the internet and through other social media avenues, and also to facilitate the business online by allowing people to input their information about the ticket on our system, to answer questions about their ticket on our system, to give us the proper information to go ahead and put the proper documents together to contest their traffic ticket. So, without an online system, without being on the internet, I don't think we could do what we're doing.
It certainly sounds like it might not scale as easily either because it just seems to be less energy to do it all from a user's perspective through a portal on the website than through the mail or faxes and what other ways you might have to do it if you didn't have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we still need to have documents signed because these are legal documents, so they still do need to print out the court trial by declaration documents, sign the documents. They do need to mail that into us, but all the relevant information, we gather most of that online through our system.
I didn't hear any law degree in your pedigree. Was that obviously, if you're not, that wasn't a requirement, but can you kind of share with our audience how a CPA could have built a business around this clause that's on the traffic ticket?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my background is obviously, as I mentioned, as a CPA and having a good understanding of business and the internet over the years and how to put that together. I am not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I only practice as one online. We're actually what's called a legal document filing service. And in California, you can get registered through the state of California and your county as a legal document filing service. So there is no requirement to be an attorney. However, in putting this business together, I had to have the proper information, the proper people in the business that do have that legal background. Where I have a business accounting, internet background, I brought people in that do have a legal background to help formulate the proper defenses and cases to contest tickets properly.
So, can you give us one final question on the business, and then we'll move on to other questions that I'd like to ask you today. But I'm fascinated by this, and applaud you as an entrepreneur and I guess it was your brother or your brother-in-law for having the wherewithal to even read the traffic ticket, let alone then take action.
Absolutely.
What is it about your methodology that lends itself to such a high success rate? I mean, why does this work?
Well, it works for a couple of reasons. First off, in California, as you may know, and I'm sure many of your listeners know, the courts are understaffed. The courts have very small budgets, and they are looking for ways to eliminate their caseload. It actually costs the state of California more money if somebody walks into court, contests the ticket, and loses, meaning that the state keeps the money. It costs them more money than the fine they charge. So having a system to contest a ticket using a trial by written declaration actually saves the state money and saves the driver's money. And we basically looked at that as an opportunity for us to provide a service that helps people and create a business model around it.
Okay. I guess conventional wisdom, I said that was the last question and I lied, Stephen. I apologize.
I won't hold it against you.
Folklore is you go to court and you show up and the other side doesn't show up and they throw it out because you had the energy to show up. Is that true, or is that not true?
Well, yeah, it's actually true. If the officer doesn't show up, the ticket is automatically dismissed. However, police officers are paid to show up. They get paid to show up in court. They are not necessarily paid to respond to a trial by declaration, which is I might not have made this clear, but it's a way to contest a case in court without going to court. It's through court documents and a written statement and case put together properly to contest a ticket. So the officer has to respond to that. If they do not respond to that, which they're not paid to respond to, the case is dismissed. So what you brought up originally is actually a fallacy. People think, hey, I'm just going to go to court and the officers never show up, it's going to get thrown out. That isn't the case. They do show up if you contest a ticket in court almost all the time.
All right. I'm fascinated by this, and I was excited to have you on both as an entrepreneur who's built a successful web-based online business, but also as someone who has a service that might be of value to our listening community throughout California. Let's talk about you and your guiding principle. Stephen, do you have a set of business philosophies, which we call here a guiding principle on Critical Mass, the radio show, that you're using to lead and grow TicketBust.com?
Yeah, I actually do, and I've used this for many years, back to when I was a CPA and had my own accounting practice, and computer systems were just coming out, and then into getting in the leading edge of technology and moving into the internet. And I call it the ABCs. It's just that simple. Always be changing. And that's really my guiding principle, because things move so fast these days. Technology changes, infrastructure changes, people change, economy, it changes. If you're not changing as all those things are changing, you're going to get left behind. And, as an entrepreneur, I've certainly had my ups and downs, and it's when I haven't changed that it's affected me in an adverse way. So I try always to follow what I say is my ABCs, always be changing.
That is fantastic. It's simple. It's easy to remember. It makes me think of Glengarry Glen Ross, which is a great movie, and
Absolutely.
Alec Baldwin, who's an unbelievable actor. So there's a lot of things I like about that.
One of my favorite movies, actually. I love that movie.
He's so good in it. All right, so let's ask you about a challenge, something that is facing the firm right now. You and the staff or the management team, you're working on it. You're going to mitigate it from affecting you, but right now you're kind of in the throes of dealing with it. Do you have a challenge like that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, and it actually goes to what a trial by declaration is, because the challenge is really two-part. It's credibility and education. The general public has never heard about a trial by written declaration. We were the first company in California to make a business out of this about 9 years ago. Nobody knew what that is. And we've contested over 50,000 tickets in California during that time, which is a hell of a lot of tickets. However, the challenge really is back to the credibility. People don't believe, since they've never heard of this, they don't believe that this is actually a legal way to contest a ticket. And so in doing that, it's getting over that hurdle of credibility, getting over that educational hurdle, and we do quite a bit of work in educating the public on how to contest a ticket, what a trial by declaration is, and trying to get that word out, because the more people that know about this process, whether they use us, another company, or even do it themselves, the better it is, because it's bringing attention to a legal way to contest a ticket, and it's adding credibility to what we do here. And, yeah, go ahead.
I'm shocked by the number. I mean, I'm happy for you that you've been able to help 50,000 people. I'm just shocked that, do you know how many tickets are written a year? I mean, I don't even have a sense for how many people are getting pulled over and written up every year here in California.
18 million tickets are issued every year. Now, this encompasses a wide variety of tickets. Now, we're talking the everyday speeding and red light photo tickets, to the unlicensed drivers, to accidents, to DUIs, to parking tickets. And that's a lot of tickets and a lot of money for the government. And adding to that credibility, in what we've done to help with our credibility, which is that question you mentioned, that challenge we're facing. We wrote a book on traffic tickets. We released that last year. We're actually in the middle of writing our second book. That adds credibility. That makes us the expert, makes us the authority on the issue. We've come up with an iPhone app to help people contest traffic tickets. All of these things that we do that other companies may or may not do add to the credibility of our company, and help with the educational process, because with 18 million tickets issued every year and only a small percentage of them being challenged via a trial by written declaration, again, many people just have not heard about this process.
Many times it's what you don't know in business and in life that can either be really helpful if you learn it or really hurtful once you experience it. So I agree, Stephen. Getting the word out and writing the book, I got to tell you, I got a note here from someone that suggested that you do a radio show like I host here on Critical Mass, the radio show, getting the word out to your audience. So that's something to put in the back burner and consider, I guess.
It's funny you say that. I've been thinking about that for the last couple months, and it's something we may do, because there's a lot of people that just don't understand the process and need help in contesting the ticket and in getting answers to their questions.
And it's like, my opinion, I don't have the data, but 18 million tickets. A lot of people get touched by this, but don't get touched so frequently that you really know what's going on. It's sort of like this once in every couple of years you get hit or something happens and you got to pay the fine, and so it's not something that you really have a lot of experience with, although it's very prevalent at 18 million tickets a year. That's a huge number for this population to support.
Absolutely. Now, just a sidetrack about that, 18 million tickets. From what I understand, California's number one revenue generator is sales tax. Their number two revenue generator, is traffic tickets. So think about the dollars that's running through the state from traffic tickets. A lot of money.
Yeah, frankly, I'd rather not think about it because it's frustrating. Anyway, I'm glad you have a business doing what you're doing, and not only did I want to get you on here because you're a successful entrepreneur, but I also believe in the kind of service that you offer to the citizens of this fine state.
Great, thank you.
Final question before we end the interview here on Critical Mass, the radio show. Tell me about the future. We're going to have you back on at some other point. I don't know if there's going to be another business that you'll start, because it sounds like you might be a bit of a serial entrepreneur here, Stephen, or you've got plans to do something else with Ticket Bus going in the future. But where do you see the future for you and for the firm, and what are you going to be saying to us in a couple of years when we have you back on the program?
Well, a very good question. I guess I am sort of a serial entrepreneur. I've been doing this, though, for about 8-9 years, and actually really enjoy what I'm doing because it gives me the ability to keep creating and adding new things and following those ABCs, always be changing. And as far as where we're going, I actually see us attacking different ethnicities. For instance, the Hispanic community. It's a huge community in California, and a lot of Hispanics drive for a living. So we're taking Ticket Bust into that community and helping Hispanics contest tickets in their native language. That's one direction we're going. The other direction that I see us going is also sort of aggregating some of our competitors. I see us as the leader in this industry and the inventor, basically, of this industry. We were the first ones, as I mentioned, contesting tickets through a trial by declaration exclusively. And since that time, there's been a few competitors pop up, a handful of them, some small, some, have gained a little traction. And I see us doing a much better job as a group and aggregating those companies or rolling them up into ours than having them operate separately. So I see growth coming through that. And I also see growth coming through some form of educational track, whether it be continuing our book series that we started, Traffic Tickets. We started a series called Don't Get Mad, Get Them Dismissed. Our first book came out last year, second book's coming out this year, and also possibly expanding into radio or other avenues. So I'm always going to be changing and moving it where it needs to go.
This is such a pleasure to have you as a guest on the radio program. I love to have entrepreneurs on the show, founders of businesses, creators of something that didn't exist before you decided to take the initiative and make it happen. Now here you are 9 years later scaling the business. It's a beautiful thing, and I will say it again. I love the service you provide. I think it's needed out there. It's sort of obvious how people find you online, but just in case they're unclear, what should they type in to find your website?
They would type in TicketBust.com, TicketBust.com, and they'll get right to us. They could also find us on Facebook and Twitter, also TicketBust.com or TicketBustCA for California on both. TicketBustCA on Facebook, TicketBustCA on Twitter.
Stephen, welcome to the Critical Mass Business Community. Thanks for being a friend of the program. I had more questions to ask you, but we kind of I got so interested in the business and the business model. Maybe we'll have you back sooner than a couple of years. Maybe when your next book comes out and we can talk about your book and finish up the questions that I had planned for you today.
I'll send you a copy. Happy to come back anytime.
We'll schedule it. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.